Hi, welcome to This Week in Ames. I'm Susan Guiazda. On today's show, we'll check in with the Ames Police Department. My guest today is Jason Tuttle, Commander with the Ames Police Department. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, this is getting into kind of a busy season for police officers. The weather is kind of on the cusp of winter kind of going out, and you sort of can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We might get some warmer weather in the next few weeks, but that also means things change for policing.
It does. You know, as we see the weather get warmer, we'll see more and more pedestrians out, more people driving. We'll start to see more of the house parties on the west end of town, and so in the end, we want people to be safe, whether they're walking or driving or they're hosting some type of gathering at their residence.
Yeah, you mentioned sort of pedestrian safety. Also, the bikers come out at this point, and we really need, as drivers, to be much more aware of that activity.
Right, yeah. Our concern, again, this time of year is that more and more people are using the streets and the sidewalks, and so especially I look at the campus town area where there's a lot of construction right now, and there's some interruptions to some of the sidewalks out there. So we want drivers to slow down and be cautious of young people who may be darting across Lincoln Way, walking back over to the university. You want them to be cautious of bicyclists who will be out as well. And we also want the pedestrians to make sure that they're being careful. We want them to cross at marked crosswalks if they can, and we want them to take the earphones out of their ears so that they can hear traffic as it's passing by. In the end, we just want everybody to be more aware of their surroundings, and we want them to be safe.
Yeah, I know we talk a lot about distracted driving, but I'm amazed at how many pedestrians walk around really distracted.
They are. They're either out looking down at their phone, texting, or using Facebook or other social media, or they have earbuds in their ears and they're listening to music, and that can be a big safety issue as well. So again, we want people to pay attention to what they're doing when they're out and about.
And as we go through this sort of change of seasons, we can see really different conditions on the roads. It can get icy very quickly.
Yes, what we'll see this time of year, just like we had the last couple of days, we'll have some drizzle on the roadways, and then it may freeze if the temperature drops down. And then we also will see the refreeze on the roads when we get the melting, and then back towards the evening when it cools off, we'll get the black ice on the roadways, and then it'll be difficult for people to drive safely.
Yeah, as you mentioned, people are out and about. At this time of the year, sometimes we see more door-to-door solicitation, and that can drive a lot of phone calls, a lot of questions about, is it legal?
Definitely. We do get a lot of calls on those door-to-door salesmen, and we do have a ordinance that says if you do not have a home office in the city of Ames and you're soliciting door-to-door, then you're required to get a permit from the city clerk's office, and that needs to be displayed when you're out soliciting. So I would encourage citizens, if they have someone that comes to their door and they know they're not a business from the city of Ames, that they would call us and let us know what they're selling, what company they work for, and their direction of travel, so that we can follow up with them to make sure that we point them to the clerk's office so they can get that proper identification.
Well, I know some of the vendors that come in and get that then will wear it so people will know that they have taken those steps already. And then you simply can, as a homeowner, you can shut the door and say no thanks, or you can make a purchase, I guess. That's
right. We want the businesses to be, honest and ethical when they're out there. So we always want to make sure that they have that information, and we know that they have good business practices. Well,
and my personal rule on this one is not to invite strangers into my home. I don't know the person. They may be properly ID'd. It's usually a no thanks.
Right. Don't be afraid to tell them that you're not interested in the business, or I've simply, when they've been persistent, I've just shut the door and told them I'm not interested, and I don't continue to talk to them.
So warm weather, in addition to bringing out perhaps door-to-door salespersons, also brings out people wanting to get together and have barbecues and social hours and events, which are great, but sometimes they can get out of hand, they can get loud. As we get into those warmer months, you guys are really busy.
We are. We'll start to see some of those gatherings pop up here and there as the weather gets nicer, and we've seen a trend over the last year of more house parties, especially around the campus town area, now that our bar capacity has declined a little bit due to some of the construction and some of the bars closing. So we have seen more house parties pop up, and we have a concern with that because those are often not regulated, and so we don't want to see a party where there's 300 or 400 people in a backyard, because generally what happens is we get a call from the neighbors who are upset because people are walking through their yard, people are urinating in their yard, people are throwing litter from the house that's having the party, and so we generally get that call from the neighbor, and we will then go and talk to the residents there about responsible behaviors, and oftentimes we'll shut those parties down due to safety issues.
So a lot of this can be avoided with just some good pre-planning, and I know you have a great brochure on how to have a good party. What are some of those tips that you try to provide people?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that we tell them is they need to be a good neighbor. It's always appropriate if they're going to host a gathering is for the person that is hosting to be sober, so that they know what's going on around them. They need to limit the size of the party. They shouldn't just have an open party so everyone walking by can come into their house or into their yard, because that presents issues within underage people drinking alcohol on their property. It contributes to more littering. There could be parking violations. There could be noise issues that all come along with that. And if we see violations such as those, we can cite the people that hold the party for a nuisance party violation. And we can also then cite them for the noise or littering or the parking.
Yeah, you really put yourself at risk to be fined and ticketed. And really, if you just wanted to have a party, it's sort of a hassle you really could have avoided.
Right, right. Again, if they take some proactive measures to make sure some of those things that don't happen, then we want them to be able to have a successful, safe gathering. But the most important thing, again, is safety and being a respectful and responsible neighbor.
Say you're somebody that hosts a party, you have a barbecue, and it does somehow get out of hand. You notice people are coming to your party, you didn't invite them, you don't want to confront them. What do you do? Yeah,
we always suggest that if the party starts to get out of hand, we want them to call us. If they're trying to host a responsible gathering and people show up uninvited, and they're belligerent especially, we want them to call us, and we will come to the party and we will ask those people to leave nicely, and we may have to escort them off the property. But again, at that point, they're being proactive. They're showing that they want to be a responsible host. And so for the most part, we're not going to come to the party and write them many citations when they're trying to be responsible.
One of my favorite tips from your brochure is tell your neighbors in advance that you're having a gathering so they're aware, and give them a phone number to call you instead of calling the police.
Exactly. If they can make that that visit in advance of the party, let them know what they're doing, the hours they're going to be hosting the gathering, give them their cell phone number, and then tell them to call them if they start to have issues. And then generally that will work for the most part. But again, if that party starts to get out of hand and the neighbor doesn't get a response from that party host, then they're going to call us, and we'll have to respond and deal with the situation. Now,
as somebody, I like to host a party, but at the end of the night, and you look around your house or your yard, it can really be a mess. I can't even imagine if that would spill over into a neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. We suggest when the people are done hosting the party that they clean up right away. Beer cans, all those things can contribute to just a terrible looking neighborhood, and again, that's not going to help them develop relationships with their neighbors if that happens. So pick up the litter, pick up if there are beer cans, if there are other paper products on the ground.
It sort of starts blowing down the street, and suddenly you have a really sad looking neighborhood where it didn't look like that the night before.
Right, and those things catch our attention too when we're driving by. If we see a bunch of litter in the front yard and there's still people maybe at the party, we may stop and check to determine what's going on.
Well, really good advice. I know a lot of that information is on the website about being a good neighbor.
Right.
And certainly the one thing I think that surprises maybe our younger residents has to do specifically with tapping kegs and selling alcohol.
Right, right. We do have an ordinance that says you can get a keg permit, and you can have one keg tapped at a time. Unfortunately, we don't see a lot of young people who come to us and ask for those permits, because they generally think that that's going to tip us off to the party. But we also have a bootlegging law for the state that says you cannot sell alcohol without a liquor license. And so what we often see is some young people want to have a party. They're selling red Solo cups to people that come in for $5 per cup, and that is a violation at that point because they don't have a liquor license. So we can, we'll make an arrest on those cases. We'll seize any money that they've gathered throughout the night, and generally it doesn't end up well for the people because again they're hosting an unlawful gathering at that point. They can also again be cited for the nuisance party violation.
Right. So just again, that advance work can really help you have a successful party, a party that does not get out of hand, and maybe a party where the police are not there.
Right, right. And I encourage people, if they have questions about these things, to feel free to call us on our non-emergency number 239-5133. If they have questions about how to host a safe party, we can also come out and do noise level checks. If they're going to have a gathering and they're going to have some music, we have noise meters in our cars where we can come out and do those checks. We also have a safe neighborhoods team that can come out and if it's a fraternity or sorority, they can come out and talk to you about how to have safe and responsible gatherings.
Good. Well, as we get into this warmer weather, are there other concerns? One that we talked about the last few months has been break-ins. And how to protect your valuables. That's probably a year-round kind of advice.
It is, especially in a college town. What we see is some of these burglars target young people who have electronic devices, laptops, cell phones, tablets, and so they're often more vulnerable than some of the other demographics in the city. But what we tell people is, especially in apartments, you should always keep your door locked. You should always keep, if you're going to leave your apartment, don't leave your laptop or your computer right next to the window, your sliding glass door where it's easy for someone to look in and see those items. If you're going to be gone for an extended amount of time, we encourage you to let your neighbors know that you're going to be gone so that they can keep an eye on your apartment. If you have a vehicle, we want you to not leave your GPS device or your cell phone or your computer laying in the back seat of your car or in the front seat where someone can easily break out the window and then pull those items out of the cars. What I always tell people is burglaries are crimes of opportunity. And so if we can take that opportunity away from the burglar, it's less likely that crime will happen. So if we remove the property from the vehicle or we keep our doors locked, then that'll help us deter some of those crimes.
Well, and in the warmer weather, you still see cars with the windows rolled down, change right out there on the dashboard. It's sort of it seems almost like an invitation.
It's very much a temptation for some of these people, especially career criminals, that we continue to have complete these same crimes over and over again. And sometimes these guys or gals get better at what they do, and so they look for more of these opportunities. And so we want to help prevent some of those crimes. So if we do some of these small things in advance, it may give us less calls for service to respond to in those situations.
Wow, just a lot of great information, Jason. I know everybody looks forward to warmer weather. I'm sure police officers do too, because it's a lot of fun. However, considerations, you really need to think about safety and keeping your valuables safe and being respectful of neighbors.
Definitely, and our spring campaign this year with Iowa State will be safe, be smart, and be sober. And so that's what we want. We want people to have a good time. We want them to enjoy the nice weather, but we also want them to be responsible. Great. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks. If you want more information about how to have a successful party in Ames, you can look at our website at cityofames.org. Go to the police department page or look under neighborhoods. You'll get some great information. Some things for your calendar. Just remember that Wednesday, March 11th is the long-range transportation planning meeting that will be held at the Ames Public Library. Also remember the annual Eco Fair is coming up, so mark your calendar from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for that great event. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for This Week in Ames.